And actually, if I didn't have the equipment from the state of Connecticut, I wouldn't have been able to define the patent the way that it is.
Yeah, I think that a lot of what the state of Connecticut does, every state does some things better than others, but I think Connecticut is very active about helping entrepreneurs get off the ground, whether it's DECD, whether it's CT Next, whether it's Reset, Small Business Development Center, the University of Hartford Entrepreneur Center. I mean, I can go on and on and on. I mean, UConn, TIP, they have a lot of resources in the state that they try to help people out. And I know a lot of times, because the resources themselves are spread out, it seems like the state isn't doing anything. But I definitely want to give a shout out because they do definitely try to help the entrepreneurs get off the ground. They have a lot of success stories. You're one of them.
Yeah, and so so one of the things that really helped out too was working with UConn.
Hi, everybody. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of Trade Secrets by Tripletote. Today, we have a very special guest who's a good friend of mine. His name is Orville Bailey. The thing I appreciate about this guy is that we locked in on our journey at the same time on a lot of things and shared a lot of notes. His product is unique. The way he got the product started is also very interesting and creative, the way he got it funded. So I wanted to bring him on because he can provide a lot of value to viewers and people who are looking to come out of the current environment and start their own thing and possible ways to get those things launched and off the ground and get them funded. Hey, Orville, thanks for coming on the show.
Good to be here. Good to be here.
I appreciate you. Now, for my audience, what is the name of your company and currently what do you guys do?
A company is called Covalent Coating Technology, and what we do is we develop specialty coatings for the medical arena. And so what we'll do is partner up with key customers and ask them basically what would they like for their medical coating to be. So that's how we kind of got started. Basically, one of our partners, we have like 3 partners. And one of them was basically stating that, your specialty is, surface modification coatings, and your background is in aerospace. But what you really need to do is look at the medical arena because there aren't very good coatings on that side. So he introduced us to a company out in the Midwest, and we partnered up with them. Identified what they needed for a specialty coating, and we went and developed equipment for that specialty coating and moved forward with it.
Now, let me ask, I don't want to give away anywhere your IP or your trade secrets, but could you give us an example, even if something you're currently not doing at this moment, of how coating in the medical field would help a patient?
Oh, so our basic patent that we developed was to create a coating for medical devices, and the coating for this specialty coating for the medical devices actually converts ceramic into bone, so that when we put the coating on this implant, they place the implant in the body and it's potentially able to grow bone and get thoroughly integrated in the body. So that's one of the patents that we created for the company, and so we're also actually looking at other patents too. So
now, explain to me how your background as an engineer for aerospace, how did you even see the need in the marketplace for devices and services that needed to be coated? Where'd you get that vision from?
So I spent about 20 years in the aerospace field working at, GE, Pratt and Whitney, Royce, and also I worked at Corning Glassworks. And so I have like 20 years of materials knowledge. And so I know about ceramics, I know about glass, I know about plastics because I worked in those various fields. And, working at Pratt allowed me to apply a lot of material science to their manufacturing processes, and I really became quite good at it working at Pratt for over 15 years.
Wow.
So I decided hey, if you know materials that good, why don't you go out and kind of prove it and see what you can do with it. So I left Pratt and I started up this venture.
Now, when you started this venture, was it cold turkey? Did you go part-time at Pratt, part-time on your venture? How'd you get started?
I just went cold turkey. I just got up, and the good thing is, I don't have a lot of hobbies, so I didn't spend a lot of money doing a lot of different things during my time at Pratt. I really focused at work, and then I saved up a lot of money. So I saved a lot, and so when I left Pratt, I had a little bit of cash to work with, to play with. It's just like play money. And that's how I got my startup going.
So you self-funded to get started. You use your own money.
I used my own money to get started, and the thing is, for all my partners that were here, I told them that, hey, we created the company, and they came on board, and they all had the same interest to have a startup. So everyone just came right on board. And they put in a lot of sweat equity and kind of made this thing what it is.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, when trying to grow the company or expand your product line or even do a lot of research and development, how did you get extra funds outside of your own to get that research and development done?
Well, I got a few grants from the state of Connecticut to buy equipment, and that. Some of the equipment that came on board at the very beginning, it was actually really, really needed. I needed some material processing, some clean rooms. So I was able to actually put in a grant to Connecticut. They gave me more than a few $1,000s, and then I bought a few pieces of equipment with that. And so by basically turning that cash from the state into equipment, I was actually able to refine a lot of the processes, and actually, if I didn't have the equipment from the state of Connecticut, I wouldn't have been able to define the patent the way that it is.
Yeah, I think that a lot of what the state of Connecticut does, every state does some things better than others, but I think Connecticut is very active about helping entrepreneurs get off the ground, whether it's DECD, whether it's CT Next, whether it's Reset, Small Business Development Center, the University of Hartford Entrepreneur Center. I mean, I can go on and on and on. I mean, UConn, TIP, they have a lot of resources in the state that they try to help people out. And I know a lot of times, because the resources themselves are spread out, it seems like the state isn't doing anything, but I definitely want to give a shout out because they do definitely try to help the entrepreneurs get off the ground. They have a lot of success stories. You're one of them.
Yeah, and so so one of the things that really helped out too was working with UConn. And so when working with UConn, I was actually able to create some studies there, and so they actually validated the work that we did here in the lab in East Hartford. So just going over to Farmington, working with them, having them put in their bit of it was more sweat equity and knowledge to validate what we're doing. So that was helpful too.
Now, did you ever think about going the VC route, getting money from a VC?
When you're talking about the VC, you're all actually talking about giving away a piece of your company, and I'd rather grow slowly and maintain the company versus try to grow as quickly as possible and give the company away. So but I tried to maintain that philosophy, which is slow growth and full ownership.
That's awesome. How long has it been since you stepped out on faith? Since you started this, how long have you been able to work on this project and grow it? Well, it's a business, not a project, and grow it.
It's really about 8 years.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, 7, 8 years.
That's great. When it comes to new entrepreneurs that are out there, a lot of people think that they can go by a template, which they can, or that is, they think the other side that is hard and impossible. What do you find to be the most difficult things about building and running a business?
Well, I think the most difficult part about running the business is one, if you're going to go out and really do something for yourself, you really need to have one, intellectual property, and two, customers. If you don't have any intellectual property, you're just like anybody else that's out there, and you're not going to get anybody to invest in you. And then the other side is your customers. You may be able to get them to do to come in there with you and partner with you. But if you don't have any IP, then they can just about go any place else. So one is having a strong customer base. Actually, you probably want to have a good customer base before you get started, but you also need to have intellectual property so that, you know, folks don't have the ability to go someplace else because they can get it somewhere else.
Yeah, a lot of people are unaware that you can use the research process as a customer development process also, which takes a lot of risk out of starting a business. So if you have to go around and interview people or question people about whether they will buy your product, how likely are they to buy your product, how much are they willing to pay for your product or service, when you get that information up front, just doing your research, all it costs you is sweat equity. It just costs you work and time. But what you're doing is you're basically planting soil and seeds for that same person that could possibly actually come back around and spend dollars with you if you have a valid service and a valuable service or product to offer. And so you really take a lot of risk out of it in that fashion, at least.
Yeah, so the thing that, you know, we learned at the very beginning of the process was, one, your customer wants what you have to offer. Two, since they don't have the wherewithal to do that, you basically own the IP. They may seed you a little bit, but it's really on how you set up your non-disclosure agreements when you start up the program, when you set up your contract with them, your statement of work with them, to basically say, okay, what's the customer getting, and what do you own? Because you could basically set the whole thing up unknowingly and basically give everything away.
Gotcha.
And that's not what you want to do. You really want to go over and set up in your statement of work, your proposals, your non-disclosure agreements, that, you know, you, the startup, you, the beginning company, you own your intellectual property. They have access to it. They can get royalties to it, but you actually have to set all that up at the very beginning. Otherwise, your customer can basically say, no, I paid for that, I own it. And you have to go back to your documents and say, no, what you were doing is you were not really investing in it, you were buying a service. We provided the service, we own the IP.
And that means you also own the right to sell that service to other people, whether they're not competing clients or whatever. You still have the right to go out and get more business using your same service. They don't own your company.
Right, and so you have to really set that up at the very beginning. You can't go over and say you're just locked in with this customer or locked in with this partner, because the partner that we started off with, they were basically saying, we don't know anything about coding at all. All we know how to do is this one thing. You know about coding, that's your IP. For us to even say that we own your IP is not right, because they didn't know anything about what we were doing.
Now, what about those people? I'm sorry to interrupt. The people on the other side of the spectrum who have an idea and they haven't traveled far down the road yet, but they want a major company to sign an NDA, even if they have not filed a patent yet or have not found a provisional yet. How do you balance giving enough information to get interest, but not giving up your entire trade secret?
You know, that's a tricky thing, because, you know, there are people that have come up and they have concept patents, but they don't have a process patent. So we'll entertain their concepts, and they own their concept, but they don't own the process. And so what we do is we basically say that we own anything that has to do with processing, that's our space. So you might say that you're going to go over and use our technologies for your specific project or your specific product. But all the processing knowledge comes from Covalent. It doesn't come from, you're having a discussion from us as to how to do it, and so you own it. If you knew how to do it, you would have done it.
Understood. Understood. Now, what's on the horizon for Covalent? What are you guys looking forward to? I know you're satisfying this one customer now, but this new customer that you guys have, but what are you guys looking forward to in the future?
So what we're doing right now is actually we're working on a COVID coding project, and so we just filed 2 provisional patents in the last month to basically do a pathogen inhibition. So it's basically a coating that prevents pathogen growth and actually kills pathogens. And so I'm in the lab actually right now making samples to send up to a lab in Massachusetts that's actually going to test these coatings for COVID prevention.
That's awesome. Hey, Orville, I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and the things you've learned. I know my audience is going to benefit greatly. Could you please let anybody out there who wants to get in contact with you, let them know your website, your handles on social media, etc.?
Yeah, so I have a Twitter account, so you can contact me on Twitter which is #covalentcoding, or you can email me at obailey@covalent-coding-technologies.com.
Awesome.
And also we have our website that you can contact me through.
Perfect. Hey, thanks again for coming on the show. Thanks for your time, and good luck with everything you're working on. And listen, we started out some of this journey together, and just to see the fruits of your labor start to show up is awesome, man, and congratulations.
All right, thanks much for you too.
Hey, have a great day.
All right, talk to you.
Talk to you.